Like everyone. And what is going on, everyone? And welcome to a special edition of Houston Texans football on the new Bleacher Report app. I am one part of your show, Ruben Calvillo. You can also find me on YouTube dropping daily Houston Texans content, 713 Houston Sports. Just type that in. My co-host Harley Dugan at TheLead _ Houston Texans, Rockets, Astros. What's going on, bro?
Doing well, man. Excited. We got the draft coming up. It is 10 days away
Yeah.
from the NFL draft. So in 10 days, we'll figure out who the Texans will have picked at 25. At least we think they might have a draft pick. Maybe they won't. Who knows? But we assuming they will. And I'm excited, man. You got that. You got the Rockets,
Hey.
second seed, locking it up. Could be facing the Golden State Warriors. We'll see. We'll see how
Got
that
the
goes, but I'm
Astros
excited,
playing
man.
good.
Astros playing good. Isaac Paredes, 3 straight games with a home run. Good time for Houston sports.
Rory McIlroy gets his Masters win.
Yeah,
Finally, big
good
moment for
lord,
him.
big. That was a. Everyone was choking there, man. My
Yeah, it was a
goodness
feel good
gracious.
moment because I remember I was still in early high school learning about Rory.
Yeah, same here. I was like, "What is this guy? This guy's pretty darn good." And he kind of fell off, had his little dip. Then he came back. He's been back for quite some time now.
Mm,
And hey, man, shout out to him. Got himself that most deserving Masters.
mm. So I asked you this question last Monday, Harley, about
Uh-huh.
draft fatigue. 10 days away, we are about to enter single digits. Are you tired yet of talking about this draft? Are you tired yet of looking at who the Houston Texans might select in the first, second, and third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round?
No, man, I can never be tired. I can't be tired of the NFL
Mm.
draft and talking Texans football. I can't. This is what I do for a living.
Absolutely love that. And guys, Harley's gonna have you covered night one of the NFL draft. Immediately after the Houston Texans make their selection, he will go live on the Bleacher Report app and break it down. We have a Bleacher Report creator mock draft stream this Thursday, guys. So it's going to be content creators from the other 31 NFL teams. I will be representing our Houston Texans, and we will be doing a mock draft all together. So this Wednesday, guys, 6 p.m. Eastern, make sure you're tuning in and make sure you guys are swarming for the H. We got something exciting for you today, and that is looking at who the Houston Texans have had a top 30 visit. Now, to Harley's credit, I think he was one of the first people to point out that when you see a top 30 visit next to a player and it says Houston Texans, there is a good chance that they might get drafted by general manager Nick Caserio. In 2021, the Texans drafted 5 of the 30 players who visited. A year later, Houston drafted 4 more. Derek Stingley, Jalen Peachy were part of those. In 2023, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson Jr. It is almost it's kind of one of the few tells we have from general manager Nick Caserio. A top 30 visit means that he's really intrigued by you.
Yeah, I mean it makes a lot of sense actually. NFL teams are always going to host guys that they have some sort of interest in, some sort of needs with. So a lot of these guys will be checking off multiple boxes for the Houston Texans. And hell, we just got a few minutes ago that the Houston Texans are aware of Aaron Wilson that
Oh,
they have a meeting with wide receiver out of Ole Miss Trey Harris. So very solid wide receiver in his own right. I believe Steve Smith had him top 5 on the Smitty
mm,
big board. So Trey Harris definitely somebody the Texans could be looking at. Maybe not at 25, maybe at 58. Who knows if he gets down that far? Not quite sure, but yeah, man, the visits like these aren't any names like these. This isn't something you just gloss over. Like this gives you actual names that maybe the Texans are
mhm.
making a board around, have interest in, and it's helpful for fans to like, oh, okay, who's Chase Lunt, offensive tackle out of UConn? Oh, and
Yeah.
then you go and you take a look at the highlights and stuff, and you're like, huh, not bad. Maybe the Texans look at him in a day 3 or a day 2, who knows? But yeah, I love the visit stuff.
No, I do too. And it's just, like I said, it's that one little tidbit, that rare tidbit, because General Manager Nick Casario, he keeps everything close to the chest. No one knows what the hell he is going to do besides Diana Rossini. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the top 30 visits. And the first one, well, it's in no order, but just labeled like that. Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams. Now, he is projected to go in the second round. He had about 70 catches this year for the Cougars, 1,198 yards and 14 touchdowns. He ran a 4.4 also. Pro Football Network has to say he's a fifth-year senior who played 3 seasons at UNLV before transferring to Washington State. He is a reliable target with good hands and affirmity when scoring touchdowns, having produced at an elite level in 2014. He's a fluid athlete who is quick in and out of breaks and a controlled route runner, demonstrating efficiency with his movements. Harley, Kanye Williams met with the Houston Texans. Would you be upset if they selected him in the draft?
None at all. And I think he's a riser right now when it comes to his draft stock because
Uh-huh.
it just seems like, man, as soon as Kyle Williams' name got, oh, he visited with the Texans, you go all the way back to the Senior Bowl, and
Mhm.
Kyle Williams talks about games that, he's watched, and he's talking about Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, two guys that just Tank with the Texans and Stephon previously here with the Houston Texans. So Kyle Williams is somebody the Texans should be eyeing, and they should have him on their board pretty high, as well as the other 31 NFL teams as well too. Solid wide receiver, somebody that somebody that's going to get drafted pretty high, and the
Mhm.
Texans are going to have to figure it out if he's going to be available at 58 or not. Do they want to trade up for him if his name starts creeping into the 40s? Do they trade up for him? Who knows? But I do think that he could go as high as the
Mhm.
second round compared to the 79 or 89, which felt
Yeah.
like realistically that's might be where he'd be falling, but who knows? His name is getting a lot of buzz right now.
Okay, let's add that potential trade up candidate for some of these players, right? Because I really do like what you brought up there. Definitely not in the first round, but he's not going to be there at 78. So,
Mm.
and he might not even be there at 56. So the Texans are going to have to make a decision. Next on the list, South Carolina defensive lineman T.J. Sanders. Now he is projected to go in the late second to third rounds. 6'3", 297 pounds, a RAS score of 9.38. He's an effective run defender who brings enough pressure as a pass rusher to entice NFL teams. There's still some room for Sanders to grow as his pad level was pretty consistent issue with his game. He's shown development as a technician, but he could still use a little more work utilizing counter moves and taking on down blockers. Does not surprise me on that the Texans are looking at the defensive tackle spot because I think that's the only area where you could kindly say is a need. And the only thing lacking in that area, in my opinion, Harley, is youth. But TJ Sanders, do you like him? Do you see him potentially being a Houston Texan?
Yeah, I like him. Definitely, he fits that mold of D'Amico Ryan's DTs. He's about 6'4", 300. So D'Amico doesn't implement any sort of big defensive tackles. His biggest one was at San Francisco with Javon Kinlaw, who was about 6'5", 330.
Mhm.
So he fits that mold of a slimmer defensive tackle, can do both very pretty well with the running game and the pass game. Um, 58, I wouldn't even look at him at 58 to be
Mhm.
honest. I think there's better DTs, and I don't know. I feel like there's more pressing needs when you're looking at 58. I know defensive tackle's a big one, but to
Mhm.
me, if you didn't go Walter Nolan at 25, and if you don't have somebody that's at 58 that is more eye popping to
Mhm.
me, that fell like if Kenneth Grant was available, which I don't think is possible, but if he somehow fell, I'd rather have him. Um, I know they talked to Tyleek Williams from Ohio State. Again, The only problem with him is he's not even as developed as a pass rusher as much
Mhm.
as TJ Sanders. So yeah, the defensive tackle group, just considering that a lot of them are just run stoppers, that's just if that's all they are,
You could find
and
one later.
yeah, I can find one later, or I can just wait till the draft's over and go get how you doing, Foley Fatukasi? That injury feeling better? Come on
Mhm.
down, buddy. Come on down to Kirby.
No, absolutely agree. I don't think he's someone that we would be trading up for, but third round pick, if he's there, I'm
Yeah,
putting down
I'm
his
like, yeah.
name. Next on the list, and I'm already say he's a trade up candidate, and that is Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden. Now, when I'm talking about trading up, I'm talking about trading up for in the first round. You have some people saying he is the third best wide receiver. Some people are saying second best wide receiver. What stands out about Matthew Golden is that speed, and just think about that speed here, opposite of Nico Collins. With Christian Kirk just eating up in the middle. Matthew Golden has shown that he wants to be a Houston Texan, like in everything that we do, even contract restructures. Matthew Golden is liking it. But like I said, he is being viewed as one of the top wide receivers in this draft. He's definitely not going to be there at pick 25. You would have to move, in my opinion, 8 to 12 slots up to select Matthew Golden.
Yeah, I think so too. I know, and it sucks, but there's a lot of bias when it comes for me with Matthew Golden. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think he would be a possibility at 25. I don't even think it's somewhat realistic that he'll be there at 25. So yeah, he would be more of a trade up candidate. Super fluid, great route runner. You turn on the film and you're going, oh my goodness, Quinn Ewers, can you throw him the ball the right way for him? My goodness gracious. But he was the go-to guy at UT when it mattered the most in the playoffs.
Mhm.
Matthew Golden was the guy that continuously popped off the field and on your television screens. Perfect complement to Nico Collins. He could play outside, he could play inside. I would have no problem with it, and I think Nick Haley would be ecstatic if the Texans decided to trade up and get a Matthew Golden.
No, and I think Matthew Golden is someone that I don't think anyone would be upset about if you went up to trade for him. He's definitely going to be something special in this league. Moving on, Oregon's offensive tackle Josh Connolly Jr. Now he is someone who recently has been getting a lot of love. I've seen some mock drafts where the Houston Texans take him at 25, 6'4", 311 pounds, a RAS score of 8.86. He screen swarm mentality. If you select Josh Conley with the 25th overall pick, I'm definitely saying this is your franchise left tackle. I also wonder if you could potentially trade back from, let's say 25 to 27, 28, and, get yourself an extra draft pick for either this draft or next year's, and you can still take Josh Connolly Jr. Your thoughts on Josh Connolly Jr.? Would you be upset if the Houston Texans got him at 25 or traded back and still selected him?
I wouldn't be upset at him even at 25, but
Okay.
I think you make a compelling point that yeah, you could do similar. I hate to compare. I'm not trying to compare the player, but the trade here, similar to Kenyon Green, where you traded down and you went down a few spots to go ahead and still grab Kenyon Green. I feel like you could do the same thing here with Josh Connerly. Now, I don't believe he will be anything like a Kenyon Green. There is a lot more potential when it comes to Josh Connerly, at least spoken about as of right now. And he has a lot of potential.
Mhm.
Jordan Reed was super high on him when I had him on my YouTube channel. He was really high, and somebody that he feels like could be an under the radar player for the Houston Texans, as well as Joe DeLeon, college football analyst, spoke really good about Josh Connerly as well too. Maybe had some other guys that were higher on the board, excuse me, compared to Connerly. But overall, I would not mind this pick at all. I mean, you need offensive linemen and you need it in the worst way possible. So you're injecting youth and talent to the O-line group. The O-line group needs anything. It's desperately lacking. It needs water. And this is the
Mhm.
water you could give it.
Wouldn't mind Josh Connolly at all, like you said, at 25. Hey, get that extra 1 year contract. The 5th year options. You can take advantage of it. Um, don't mind that at all. Moving on, Texans wide receiver, Texas. I'm sorry, Isaiah Bond.
Mm.
And when you talk about Isaiah Bond, Harley, you're talking about speed. He's a is a tremendous speedster. Those who turn on the tape will find themselves impressed with how easily Bond moves in space. His deep speed is top notch, maximizing it with a quick first few steps off the line of scrimmage. Some wide receivers who are fast in a straight line can't change directions at all. Well, that archetype certainly doesn't apply to Bond, as he's a dynamic runner with the ball in his hands who maintains his momentum and speed very well when changing direction. Now, here on the Pro Football Sports mock draft, he's fallen to, I think, the 179th prospect. Um, a couple weeks ago he was the third round type of receiver. Now fourth, fifth. You see the speed there, and if you find that type of speed in the fifth round, the later rounds, I mean, how could you not be upset about that?
You can't. I mean, the prospect alone, the talent he has. I mean, you're looking at a guy that's eventually going to be a starter for any NFL team. And so immediately you're looking at an Isaiah Bond. And if you put him in to this wide receiver group, who else does he have to compete with? There's not a lot of confidence for me when it comes to Braxton Berrios, Justin Watson, Hutchinson, and Mechie. If Isaiah Bond has to beat out all four of them guys to be one of your other starting wide receivers, I could absolutely see it. I mean, he ran a 4.3940,
Mhm.
but I understand why he's fallen. There's some off-field issues that has came up when it came to Isaiah Bond. He turned himself into the police. So there's some stuff off the field that is going to be alarming to a lot of NFL teams. I hope it's not the Texans because the talent is there. The talent is definitely there. And what a bargain. You
Mhm.
have, I believe, the 166th pick in the fifth round. I could be wrong about that. But if he's there in the fifth round, oh my goodness, yeah, take him. If you want to go and insert yourself into the fourth round and try to trade up to the fourth round and get an Isaiah Bond, no problem. Sign me up. Uh, Speed, shifty. He's got a lot going for him. And, who knows? This off the field stuff could be something very minor at the end of the day. It could be something we forget about going into his NFL career, and hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, can he play football? And
Mm.
he can definitely play some football. And he could be a damn good pairing with Nico Collins and Christian Kirk. I'd be up for it.
That, I mean, that would just be dangerous. The amount of speed you have on the outside with Nico
Mm-hmm.
Collins and Isaiah Bond, and then you talk about what Christian Kirk can do over the middle, and whoever the hell is going to be at tight end. And what a good segue, because the next player that the Houston Texans have met with, who me and Harley have both mock drafted, and that is Miami tight end Elijah Arroyo. Heading into the 2024 season, Arroyo had just 11 career catches in 3 years at Miami. Catching passes from potential number one overall pick Cam Ward, Arroyo broke out in the match for 35 catches, 590 yards, and 7 touchdowns, averaging 16.9 yards per catch. They say right off the bat he's going to be a good vertical threat tight end, and with progression, with getting more into your man body, the blocking will come. With new offensive coordinator Nick Caley, Harley, he said at the end of his press conference, I love tight ends. You brought up how D'Amico Ryans talked about Brevin Jordan and how excited he was for his future. Talked about Kate Stover and how excited he was for his future, and just mentioned Donson Schultz with a quick little one-liner. Harley, the Houston Texans met with Elijah Arroyo. Your thoughts?
I'd be ecstatic if the Texans went and got him. Definitely someone the tight end group could utilize. I mean, he's about 6'5", 250, something around that. So, hey, good size, good weight. He's from Frisco, Texas, so he's a Texas boy. He grew up in Mexico, so shout out to
Hey,
mi gente.
hey,
Elijah Arroyo could definitely would have a fan base immediately drafted here with the Houston
Roy Lopez.
Texans. And I mean, hey, Brevin Jordan's a former Miami Hurricane. You got Elijah Arroyo, a former now Miami Hurricane. So two guys right there that have a lot of potential still. Brevin Jordan, regardless of injury, we all know that when he's on the field, he's popped when he's on the field, and he's shown some flashes of tight end one ability, but that you see a lot of that with Elijah Arroyo. He is definitely someone the Texans should be pursuing and happy that they visited with. Need him on the football team.
Yeah, now Elijah's being considered as a second round pick, and I would
Tough.
not be mad whatsoever if at 56 you do take Elijah Roy, just knowing what he could potentially become. I will say this though, can't remember the last time the Houston Texans spent a second round pick, on a tight end. Would that be the highest they've ever taken one?
Um, Man, I'd have to go back into the archives. I think about Owen Daniels in the third round with the Mario Williams, D'Amico Ryan's draft. I think of OD there. I don't know when CJ Fedorowicz was taken, but I don't feel like he was a second round pick. And I can't think of anybody else off the top. Oh, maybe I do remember Benny Joparu, one of the first Texans
Mm,
players that get drafted was Benny Joparu. He was supposed to be one of the highly touted tight ends. They passed him up over a really good tight end. I believe it was Jason Witten, but which
a really
sucks.
good one.
Yeah, it was a really good one, a Hall of Famer maybe. But yeah, Benny Joparu was, I believe, a second round pick at 37. For I think I remember that. The only thing with Elijah Arroyo is injuries.
That's it.
That's the only problem with him. And I know last year he played okay, but the previous 2 years, he fought through injuries 2 years ago, and then 3 years ago he had a season-ending injury. So it's not something you like to hear when it comes to Arroyo there.
No, especially when you're going from college into the next level where the hits are harder and the players are faster.
Hmm.
Moving on, William and Mary offensive tackle
Oh yeah.
Charles Grant. Now, this is someone who I don't think a lot of people have been talking about, but I have his profile here. He's an intriguing prospect at offensive tackle with the athleticism and ability to succeed in the NFL and pass protection. He does an excellent job of keeping defenders at arm length, allowing him to maximize leverage in the run game. He is most effective in a zone scheme and has the speed to get involved down the field. The step up in competition level is the main concern for Grant, and that could expose his sometimes jerky footwork. The raw talent is certainly there, but any coaching staff that gets their hands on him will have a developmental project to bring him up to the level required in the NFL. We're talking about a fourth, fifth round pick here, offensive tackle from William and Mary, Charles Grant. Hardy, for me, when it comes to this offensive line, I think you gotta use some of your top picks, in the top 100. I I would feel some type of way if you say, yeah, we address the offensive lines in rounds 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Grant, I like him. I do. Um, I do wonder if the Texans even take a look his way, considering he's from the FCS. He's not a Power Five school guy. But everything about Charles Grant,
Mm.
man, when you look at him, you go, man, I could definitely see him be a Houston Texan. And he was first team All Coastal Athletic Association 2022, second team AP All American in 2023, and also first team All Coastal Athletic Association. And in 2024, he was a first team AP FCS All American. I mean, he started every single game for William and Mary since
Mm.
2022. If you have anything else, the questions about him as a character, as a man, he donated his own bone marrow in 2023 of spring for a 29-year-old's Hodgkin's lymphoma. So the character, no, there's no character concerns there with him. High character, really good leadership, a badass at William and Mary, started all the games. He looks like someone that fits everything the Texans are looking for,
Mm.
except he just didn't go to a Power Five school. Like, to me, would have no problem with the Texans taking a chance and going, hey, you know what? At 79, let's go ahead and fill in the card. And let's go ahead and get a Charles Grant because he's considered to be in the third round. I
Mm.
would not be upset with that at all. And I think he could really turn some eyes. Really good film when looking at him as well.
Would you have him compete right away with Cam Robinson?
Immediately. Nobody should have a starting job on this team. I understand you paid money for Cam Robinson, but at the end of the day, this is healthy competition. And if you're afraid of competition, the door's on the way out.
Ooh. Moving on, Texas defensive lineman Alfred Collins. Now, this
Well,
is someone who me and Harley have both projected to the Houston Texans and mock draft him. Like Harley said earlier in this episode, some of these defensive tackles are not that refined at pass rushing, but really good at stopping the run. And that's exactly, the kind of conversations you have when you're talking about Alfred Collins, 6'5", 332 pounds. Collins struggles on pass rushing downs despite his physical tools, but he is extremely effective as a run defender. Harley, we have seen time and time after again, whenever a defensive player gets on this D'Amico Ryans unit, they get better. And Alfred Collins, they project him to be a third-round defensive tackle. Hey, the third round, I wouldn't mind him whatsoever.
yeah, I don't mind him at all, I guess, either. The Texans still do need somebody that can help against the run, regardless of my feelings about Alfred Collins or even Tyleek Williams or the other defensive tackle you mentioned. I can't think of right now. But Alfred Collins isn't bad. He's not the most athletic defensive tackle, but somebody that's going to stuff the run. He's going to be another lunch pail guy. And yeah, I mean, we've seen D'Amico Ryans with these defensive tackles that, names of Kurt Heinisch and Tommy Tologai and, Mario Edwards. Foley Fatukasi was cut, by the Jaguars. All of these guys have came in here, even Tim Settle, lesser known names have came in here and done a magnificent job rotating in and out. And you finally got Big Rank back on this team, who had one of his career years here with the Texans, got him a big contract with the Bengals. Obviously, it didn't work out, and he's back here with D'Amico Ryans. Funny enough, Alfred Collins' comp is Javon Kinlaw, very similar in size. He's about 6'6", 330. Kinlaw was about 6'5", 324. So this would be one of the biggest defensive tackles that D'Amico Ryans would take. I was surprised that they even looked at him, but considering, they need help against the run, Alfred Collins can do just that. He was a force. Think about UT last year. They had Alfred Collins with Tavondre Sweat. Try running up the middle against that.
Which is why I think, you might have to take a look at, one of these defensive tackles because, D'Amico Ryans has to get himself a player with one of these top 4 picks in top 100. Real quick, I think one more that stands out, and we could hold this for another episode, but, Quinshon Judkins, running back from Ohio State, they have him touted as a second round pick. Harley, Quinshon Judkins, real quick, your thoughts on him?
Love him. Hungry. He's a worker, and the motor just doesn't stop for him. He had some good numbers even at Ole Miss. Goes over to Ohio State, is the leading rusher over there, and is in a tandem. Yes, the leading rusher when Travion Henderson was there as well too. Both guys are just knockouts, and yeah, you would love to have one of these guys on the Houston Texans team, either running back. I know we're not talking Henderson, but I'll throw him in there too. I have no problem with either one. The Texans need themselves a running back. Don't be scared, please. The running back draft class is deep. Take a running back for the love of everything. Please take a running back. I cannot stress this enough.
For the love of everything, like Hardy said. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all who was a part of this episode. We will be back on Wednesday as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft. And, next episode, we'll go ahead and finish this list. And, we also got some more visits. Hardy let us know about Trey Harris. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Have a blessed one.